This year's Cosmonaut Catch-Up is sponsored by Incogni. That's right, guys, it's the beginning of a new year. And you know what that means. More spam calls. Likely spam? Yeah, I bet it is. What else would it be? 10 calls a day and it's nobody I know. It's just someone trying to sell me something. I know you guys have this problem too. Everybody does. And you might have just accepted it as a part of life. It's just something we can't fix. But that's not true. What they don't tell you is that while countless companies are collecting and trading your information, you are allowed to tell them to delete your number. But that's the hard part. It's usually a long and complicated process. But that's where today's sponsor, Incogni, comes in. Incogni does the hard part for you. They'll reach out to data brokers on your behalf and say, bro, lose my number. What's even better is that Incogni is very easy to use. Right when you sign up, they immediately get to work shooting down any bots or data brokers that might have your information. So if this sounds like something you'll need, head over to incogni.com/cosmonaut and use code Cosmonaut to get an exclusive offer of 60% off. In case you missed it, that's incogni.com/cosmonaut and use code Cosmonaut. Or you can click the link below to take your personal data off the market. For those of you who don't know, Cosmonaut Catch-Up is the yearly series where I talk about all the things I did not make a video on that I watched. Some things I didn't watch. You'll find that I skipped a lot of stuff this year. But we have a few things to cover. Now, a lot of people were saying that I didn't make as many videos last year, and that is true. The amount of videos was low. I was pretty busy with non-video things last year. And yeah, there wasn't a bunch of stuff coming out. So I didn't have anything to make videos on, you know? But the videos I did make, I worked on making them real good, okay? I feel like I made some good videos last year. So I took the act of making less stuff, but... Excuse me. I made less stuff, but I tried to make that stuff real good, okay? But this year, I plan on making more videos, all right? So don't worry. We will make more. Cosmonaut Picture Show, we've had some rough times with it because we were doing Transformers. We made the foolish endeavor of doing Transformers. For those of you who do not know, Paramount is one of the strictest studios for some reason. They are fucking dickheads. And they would just not let our videos go through. We're finished with Transformers, okay? No more Transformers. We're not doing Rise of Beasts. I'm sorry. It's not like anybody was really asking for it anyway. We're skipping it. We're gonna move on to other things. Okay, we have a lot of things we want to do. We wanted to do Resident Evil. We want to do all the Resident Evil movies. We've already teased that plenty of times before. More picture shows. More videos. People said last year that I didn't go as in-depth on my Cosmonaut Quickie entries, or my Cosmonaut Catch-Up entries last year. That I kind of breezed past a lot of things, and they preferred the old way where I'd actually just make like a big quickie, like a big long quickie of a bunch of stuff. Personally, I like doing it this way because I can talk to you guys. I get to have a conversation with you guys directly about the things I like. And sometimes you guys bring up stuff I forgot about, you know, because a lot of these things are things I watched in like February last year and I forgot about them, you know? You guys help me out. So I have written a list of talking points for each thing we're going to talk about in case, you know, I'm going to beef it up. Okay? Because I like doing it live. Some people like the other way because they think I go more in depth and they want to hear me talk more about stuff. So we're going to have the best of both worlds. I wrote bullet points of things that I can talk about if I feel like we haven't discussed a thing enough yet. Okay? Without further ado, let's talk about things that came out. Now, before we get to movies and shows and whatnot, I want to talk about things that I liked that weren't movies and shows. For video games, yeah, I like Street Fighter, but we're not going to talk about Street Fighter. You guys can go watch the CJM Slam, but I did like Street Fighter. It was probably my most played video. Actually, on my Steam charts, Street Fighter 6 was my most played game by a long shot. Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, I did like that. You guys can go watch the VODs of that. Those are up. But one thing I did do a lot of last year was I read a lot of comic books. I read a ton of comic books. More than I think I've ever read. And normally, I just read a lot of X-Men. It's kind of all I read. I open up the Marvel app and I just read a bunch of X-Men. I'm not reading current X-Men. I think current X-Men looks bad, and I'm not reading it. My personal rule, look at me in the eye right now, okay? My personal rule is, and this is something you should do, you do not have to read bad comics. If a comic run looks stupid, if it looks like shit, and everybody says it's bad, you do not have to read it, okay? A lot of people read, like, current 616 Spider-Man, and they're like, this sucks. Why I hate reading this. And they keep reading it. Just don't read it. I don't read Spider-Man, okay? Because it sucks. However, I do read Ultimate Spider-Man. So, right now, Marvel's doing a new Ultimate Universe. It's a whole new universe, whole new rules. For instance, Peter Parker's married with kids, and then he becomes Spider-Man when he's an adult. Very interesting concept. And I really like this universe. If you guys have been playing Marvel Rivals and you're like, oh, what's this skin that Reed has, the maker? I want to know more about this. This is all related to that. And it's very, very cool. It's very sick. I really like the Ultimates as well, the Avengers comic for this universe. I think that this is just a very fresh and interesting way to get into comic books. I went to my comic book store the other day. I tweeted about this, but like I went to my local shop and it was cleaned out for the first time that in like my memory. Every new comic was gone because Marvel Rivals has people reading comic books. It's crazy. The people in the store were talking about the game while they were shopping. So if you guys are playing Marvel Rivals and you're like, I want to get into comic books, but it's really, really hard, because it is. Let's not lie. Like there's people who are like, oh, it's not really that hard. No, it is. Shut the fuck up. Getting into comic books is hard. This many people would not be saying it if it wasn't true. But if you want to get into something new and cool and fresh, just read the Ultimate comics. Ultimates 1 from 2024, read that one, not the other Ultimates. There's another one. Don't read that. It's not very good. But Ultimates 2024, Ultimate Spider-Man 2024, those are the two I've been reading. I recommend also reading Ultimate Invasion. That gives you kind of the framework for this universe, because this universe is very crazy. This universe is very weird. You got to read Ultimate Invasion to understand all of it. I haven't read Ultimate X-Men yet, but I have it. It's sitting behind me, literally. Ultimates, I like quite a bit. I'm a big fan of the Ultimates. There's concepts in this comic that are very fascinating to me. For instance, in this new universe, there is no America. America does not exist anymore. So when Captain America awakens from the ice and he finds out that everything he stands for is gone, that's very compelling stuff. I think this series is a little better than Ultimate Spider-Man personally. I like it a lot more. Ultimate Spider-Man is still very much a slow burn, but this series, this is like, if you want action-packed, if you want cool concepts, if you want things to think about, like the fact that Doctor Doom is on this team. Doctor Doom is part of the Avengers, and he's not, who you think he is. And his backstory is heartbreaking and fucked up. It's so good. Yeah, Ultimates 4 is very good. So yes, Ultimates 2024, highly recommend it. You do have to read Ultimate Invasion first, though, to get the full framework. They're going to just drop you straight in and be like, hey, by the way, if you don't know what happened in Ultimate Invasion, you're going to be really confused. Read Ultimate Invasion, then you can just jump straight into this. Personally, I think this is one of the best comics being written right now. Oh, yes, and Ultimate Universe #1, yes. You got to read those to understand this stuff. But let's say you don't like Marvel, right? DC's doing the same thing. And I actually think it's better. I actually think it's a lot better. So DC conveniently is doing almost the exact same thing, where they're doing the Absolute line, where they take Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, give them new books, and they take away, there's a gimmick to it. They take away the thing that you associate them with. So for instance, for Batman, they take away his money. They take away his butler. He has nothing, but he's just a regular guy who's just a man of the streets, and he is still Batman somehow. And it's fucking sick. Absolute Batman #1 is the single best issue of a comic I read all year. It is so fucking raw. It has so much content in it for just one issue. It is so good. If I recommend one single issue of a comic, read Absolute Batman #1 if you can get your hands on it. Absolute Wonder Woman, I actually literally have on my stack of comics right behind me. I couldn't find #1 until 2 days ago. Fucking Wonder Woman has like a great sword, like Cloud Strife. Everybody I know has said great things about all 3 series. I highly recommend these as well. So I've heard Superman is not as good as the other 2, but I haven't heard anybody say anything bad about Superman. Oh yeah, Wonder Woman's from hell. Like, she doesn't have her island of Amazons. Superman doesn't have his family that raised him. He lands and he's just on his fucking own. He's just by himself. They take away like the core like backstory concepts from the characters, and they show like these characters would still be the same even without the things that you think molded them. And it's very cool. It's very sick. I like the idea of Batman being a poor kid from Gotham because it really, it fleshes out the character in such a unique way. I recommend reading comics. You guys can just jump straight into these. You don't need to read anything else to get into them. And I think that's why I would recommend them. But let's talk about movies, right? Oh wait, no, not yet. Because there was one more thing that I really have been enjoying this year. That's Marvel Rivals. These are compilations that someone has been making. Metastrophe. Definitely go give these a watch. They made edits of me and my friends playing this game, streaming it. Shout outs to Metastrophe. This game is so good, guys. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be very candid with you guys right now. I was supposed to make the M. Night Shyamalan movie for November. The Xander video got pushed because it took longer to make. But I still probably could have gotten it, the Shyamalan video done in December, but I was playing so much Marvel Rivals. I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop. This game is so good. I have a thing where like I get sick of a game pretty quick and I move on to the next thing. I have not gotten sick of Marvel Rivals yet. And I only play Thor. I've gotten Lord on Thor already. I get MVP almost every game. I'm so fascinated by the fact that the characters, like, you can master the characters. I always felt like when I was playing Overwatch matches just felt like the same game every time you play. I was playing Overwatch last year, like near the beginning of the year, and I was like, damn, this is like, I'm really just playing, I'm doing the same thing every match. Yeah, it felt like rock, paper, scissors. Like, I just didn't feel like there was enough diversity because you're locked into your roles. You have to play the same team comp. Whereas here, you can mix it up. You can play 4 duelists and win. You know, people are complaining about the triple healer, but triple healer's beatable. Like, the game, you can come up with ideas on the fly with your team. It's just it's such a well-made game. There's so much detail in the game too. Like, you can, if you like Marvel Comics, this is the perfect video game. It's perfect. I have no problems with this game. 10 out of 10? Absolutely. I'm gonna have to give it a 10 out of 10. The only thing I don't like in this game is Luna Snow's ult. I think that shit lasts way too long. Bump it down to 9 seconds and we're good. But like, so many people have different complaints about the game. They're like, oh, this character's busted. This character's too weak. I think the game is very well made right now. I like that there's like hard counter picks. There's just characters you can shut down with another character. But yeah, I think this game's really good. I like it a lot. Again, go watch, if you want to watch me play it. Metastrophe has very good compilations of me and my friends playing it. They made it. They cut it down to the funniest, coolest bits. I will be streaming more of this in the coming months. This is like my main game right now. It's so fun. So let's talk about movies and shows. Let's talk about movies. I have an order of movies and shows. You guys have a lot of things you've been asking me to talk about, like Penguin and things like that. But I have to make you guys eat your vegetables too, you know? We'll start with the brain rot, and then I'm making you eat your vegetables, and then we'll do more brain rot, yada yada, okay? So I went to see Sonic the Hedgehog 3. I started with this one because I want you guys to get mad at me. I'm kind of a glutton for punishment. I didn't like Sonic 3. I did not. Okay, I don't think it's that I didn't like the movie. I didn't like watching the movie. And that I have to explain. Listen to me. Listen. The chat's going crazy because you guys are so mad at me. But listen. My experience watching the movie was very bad. I went to see this movie at 9 p.m., middle of the night, downtown Atlanta. And there's this motherfucker who took 12 kids. It's just me, my girlfriend, and 12 kids sitting around us in a circle. And let me just say real quick, I have a soft spot for kids in my heart. I'm not the kind of person who's like, oh, yo, fucking snot-nosed brats, get them out of my fucking life. No, I think people like that are corny. But this night almost changed that for me. These kids were bad. They were bad kids. All right? They were screaming. They were cussing. I've never heard such foul language from children in my life. They were cussing up a storm, dude. Anytime anything fucking happened, they were just saying, fuck you, fuck the bullshit. Like, they're just saying words with no context behind them. And I was like, where the fuck did I just show up? Anytime anything happened, they just talked about it next to me. They weren't even enjoying what was happening on the screen. So yes, my experience was sullied by the fact that I was in the worst theater experience of my fucking life. If I had gone to see this movie opening day, which I didn't, I had to wait a couple weeks because I was making videos, right? I was working on M. Night Shyamalan, so I didn't have time to go watch this opening day. We had to go see this later, and if I was in a theater with like half nerd, like a full theater with like half millennial nerds and then half kids, I think I would have had a great time. But I didn't, and it made it so hard to enjoy it for me. Beyond that, I think the movie was still mid, honestly. Now, I will say I also had, like the cool stuff spoiled for me by Twitter, which is a little annoying, but it happens. I get it. I went to see the movie a little late. But like, Sonic fans are honestly the most delusional people I've ever seen on Twitter. They are so fucking weird. Sonic fans will be like, that movie was so fucking peak. Sonic was in it, guys. Like, getting hyped for Supersonic is one thing, but like, we got Supersonic in the last movie. It's not like we fucking, this is new content for us. You know what I mean? This movie is mostly little kid dumb jokes. I'm fine with that. But like, when the human stuff isn't happening, when the Jim Carrey jerk-off hour isn't happening, the movie's a lot better. And I think Jim Carrey is very fun in this movie. Honestly, he's still a highlight of these movies because you can tell they just turn on the camera and they say, do whatever you want, Jimmy. I like that. But I think that there's a disconnect between like the hype moments and the goofy Jim Carrey nonsense. There's a very cool scene between Sonic and Shadow near the end of the movie where they dap each other up. That shit is so fucking raw. But then they don't talk about the fact that it immediately cuts to Jim Carrey spanking himself. I like the Jim Carrey spanking, personally, but I think there is a disconnect in how the movie is paced. I think that they should understand at this point that people really just want to see Sonic and his friends kicking ass and being cool. Like, look at this. This is awesome. If I was a fucking kid, I would have loved this. But maybe I'm not the target audience anymore because I am no longer a Sonic fan. I grew out of that when I got into high school. I'm probably not the person to be complaining about this. I just think there's a big disconnect in what this movie's trying to do. People on Twitter were just hyping this movie up so much. They were like, guys, this movie is fucking serious. It's heartbreaking. It's moving. Like, they're talking about it like, oh, sorry, buddy. They're talking about it like it's transformative filmmaking. It's just a Sonic movie, guys. It's a cool Sonic movie, but it's just a fucking Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Are you kidding me? They're talking about it like it's fucking Citizen Kane 2. It was fine. I didn't hate it. I wasn't in the movie with the frown on my face. Okay, I kind of was, actually. I was frowning a lot. There's this fucking scene, guys. There's this scene near the end of the movie, right? Where Sonic and Shadow, they're sitting and they're talking and they're having a heart-to-heart with each other, right? And they're trying to, like, relate to each other and finally understand each other. And the music is tender and the scene is quiet and it's contemplative. And then this kid in the back of the theater shouts, "Yo, this shit is gay!" And all the kids around me start laughing. They start cracking up. And I'm like, come on, man. Come on. I'm trying to like this fucking movie. I can't even engage with the film for 5 fucking minutes, dude. The movie's fun. If you like Sonic the Hedgehog, like, this shit is cool, but this is not the whole movie. And I think my problem is that this shit is so sick in this one. Like, the action in this one is so much better than the other 2 movies, but it's still being held down by the things that the studio thinks it needs to include to get the kids clapping like seals at the screen. Anyway, that's my overly long Sonic rant for no reason. It was fine. Not for me, probably, but it was fine. I probably would have loved it if I saw it opening day. I'm not gonna lie to you. But yeah, the Dragon Ball fight scenes were so good. They were so sick. They were the coolest part of the movie, but there's only like 10 minutes of that total in the entire movie. You know what I mean? That's enough brain rot. Let's talk about... We'll do Secret Level later. I don't have much to say about Secret Level, but I do have a lot to say about... yeah, let's hit this real quick. So, because this show's airing, and I don't want to talk about something that's not fully out yet. You know what I mean? A few years ago, I watched Severance, and it was the best show I've seen in years. One of the best shows I have ever watched in my life. And that's just season 1. And I haven't even started season 2. I watched like 5 minutes of it. And I'm like, I think I need to go back and rewatch season 1. Because season 1 was what, like 3 years ago? It was forever ago now. I will not spoil anything. Don't worry. I'm not going to spoil a damn thing. Because I know a lot of people are hearing about the hype of season 2. They're hearing about people being like, this show's amazing, gotta watch it. And they're like, well, I didn't have Apple TV 3 years ago, so I haven't seen it yet. This show is fantastic. The visuals alone should be selling you. Look how well this shit is shot. And this is just a fucking trailer. When the way they do the rack focus thing, when they transition between their 2 selves, is so clever. Azali, is that what they call it? I don't know. I don't make movies. Like, look at this fucking shot. If you watch the show, you understand the significance of this shot. How only half of this man's life exists right now. The other half is darkness to him. He's stuck in this little box, and that is all he experiences. That is... Are you kidding me? It's genius. That's not spoilers. Listen, you learn this stuff in the first 5 minutes of the show, all right? Like, if you rewatch this show with all of this knowledge in your head, you will see these amazing details. I think this show has like some of the most interesting character writing. How like each character's playing 2 characters. I already love when that's happening. When these 2 characters that are technically the same person don't get along with each other, but they have the same overlying character traits. That stuff is just so fascinating to me. Like, one character is her main trait is that she is very headstrong. She is very prideful. And she butts heads with herself. That it's stuff that like I could never come up with. This is the kind of show where one episode will bring up a concept that leaves you uncomfortable for the rest of the day. It will make you upset and you'll think about it for a long time. But at the same time, the show's very funny too. The show knows that like it has to alleviate some of this dread and tension with comedy. And I like the dark comedy in this show. It's not even all dark comedy. Some of it's like genuinely goofy and silly. I really can't spoil the show. I can't talk about it too much. I don't want to spoil it. The show, it's one of the best shows out right now. The only thing wrong with this show is that you have to get Apple TV to watch it. I do recommend it. I do think it's worth like the fucking $15 for a month of Apple TV to watch it. I genuinely think it's worth it. The show's really good. It's amazing, honestly. I can't recommend it enough. I wish I could talk more about it, but I don't want to spoil it. Almost there in every single episode, there's something to be spoiled. There's shots in this fucking trailer that like I don't even want to show you guys. Oh, for Severance, 10 out of 10, easy. Also, we're not doing Craven because I'll probably do a video on Craven on its own. So no Craven, and no The Boys. I should say real quick, I have not finished The Boys. See, the newest season of The Boys did not feel very good to me. I was watching it. I got a few episodes in. I'm like, I think this kind of sucks. So I haven't watched it. I'll get back to it when the last season comes out. But I don't know, guys. I think it's fallen off for me. But anyway. Furiosa. So, Furiosa is another thing for me where the things I like, I love. And the things I don't like, I really don't like. But I love more than I have more things I love than things I don't like. Visually, I do think it's a small step down from Mad Max Fury Road. Not a big step down, but a small step down. And that is something that kind of has to happen because Fury Road was hell to shoot. In order to make better working conditions for the cast and crew, it has to be shot worse. Unfortunately, some things, like if you want to treat people better, sometimes the art will suffer for it. I can only say the result is that the movie does look a little worse, in my opinion. It doesn't look bad. It just looks a little worse. Also, yes, that someone just said, and I was going to get to that, the pacing of this movie is simply worse than Fury Road as well. There is a big chunk of this movie where I forgot Furiosa was in it. There's a lot of time that is spent on Chris Hemsworth desert politics. It is not very engaging. All the stuff that is focused on Furiosa is fantastic. It's great. I love it. It's awesome. All the other stuff, not my favorite. Personally, not my favorite. I do like that he makes this very operatic attempt at telling her story, where like, you aren't entirely sure if all of this stuff really happened. It feels like someone is telling you a fable about the great warrior Furiosa, and I think that's a very cool approach to it. How you're not even really sure if any of this is true, and I think that's a very cool way of doing it. This movie isn't as over-the-top, epic, and bombastic as Fury Road, but I don't think it needs to be. It's telling a different kind of story, and I very much enjoyed that. Like, I'd say like the last half of this movie was amazing. I loved the last half of this movie. The first half of this movie, not as much. There were little bits and pieces that I really enjoyed, but there were points in this movie where I was a little bored. I don't get bored very often when I watch things, so I was very shocked that I was just not engaging with the first half as much. Second half is great. Chris Hemsworth, overall, his performance is so engaging. It's so fun to see him be this very interesting villain. People saying the last 20 minutes ruined it. I love the last 20 minutes. I don't know. I really enjoyed the last 20 minutes of the movie. I love the resolution of this film. My favorite parts of this entire film were like the last 20 to 30 minutes. Where like there is no final battle. There is no big confrontation. It is a very like intimate conclusion between these two characters. I will take that over a big epic final battle any day of the fucking week, personally. There's stuff in this movie that I have never seen before, you know, that changed the way I could see a story like this being told. And then at the same time, there's decisions that I think weren't very good. There's no scene in this movie that's going to be as cool as the coolest scenes in Fury Road. I think that Fury Road, as far as an action movie is concerned, is a 10 out of 10. There is nothing wrong with that movie. And I can't say the same for this. It's just the way it goes. There's something I can do about that. I still think this movie's good. It's not trying to be an epic action adventure movie like Fury Road was. It is It's just not trying to do that. So I can't really blame it for not being the same kind of movie. I think there's some great things in this movie, and I think there's some things that I would have fleshed out a little more. One of the things I really didn't like was how, like, the very, very end of this movie just shows you clips from Fury Road. I thought that was kind of tacky, personally, because to me, like, I'm already, like, going into this movie thinking, all right, it's not Fury Road. I'm going to look at it as a different thing. And that helped me enjoy it. But then when the movie ends and it reminds you, hey, remember this really, really good 10 out of 10 movie? I'm like, well, now I do. I was trying not to think about that, but yeah, now I remember that the other movie was better. I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10. A strong 8. Probably 8.5. Let's just do a quickie on Secret Level. I thought the show fucking sucked. This is gonna be real quick. I think this shit was poop from a butt. This show's not good. I don't even have much to say about it. But I've always held the opinion that video games, as far as narrative and storytelling are concerned, have always been a step down from film and television. And that's not even a bad thing, right? Because video games are not trying to only tell a story. Video games are also doing other things, right? Video games are an interactive medium, and some video games, some of the greatest video games of all time, have no story at all. I think that the best video game story I have ever experienced is still 10 steps below the best film narrative I've ever experienced. You can disagree, but that is how I've always felt. It's not a contest. And again, I don't think that's a bad thing, because video games, like Red Dead Redemption 2, there's things that Red Dead Redemption 2 does that a movie cannot do. Interactive moments where you are controlling a character and a song will kick in that is poignant and effective and makes you feel something even deeper than if you had heard a song in a movie, right? It's doing something completely different. Comparing the two is not fair for me. I understand that. I'm not saying that video games are worse than movies. That's a stupid thing to say, because they're not the same. They're not trying to do the same thing. However, when something like this comes out, where it just takes a video game and it removes the unique aspects of the video game, which is you controlling something and having an intimate personal connection with it, that's when you start to see that video game stories are mid as fuck. There was only one episode of this miniseries that I liked, and it was the Warhammer one. That's because nobody talked. Nobody opened their goddamn mouth to say some fucking lame-ass platitudes about your role in the world, and fate, and adventure, and destiny. The writing in this show is so fucking bad. It is so boring. It's lifeless. It has nothing to say. In most cases, it's going to rehash the story of the game it's referencing, but in a bad way. Like the Sifu one made me so angry, because I had just played Sifu for the first time like a few days before the show came out, and then I watched the Sifu one, I'm like, that's just a bad Sifu run. Sifu itself is better than the show shows it to be. But I gotta say, the fucking Warhammer one is so good, dude. You guys may not know, I love Warhammer 40,000. Warhammer 40k, I play the tabletop game. I consume the media. I'm not talking about it in this video, but I think Space Marine 2 is a great game. It was one of my favorites of the year. I don't have anything to say about it because it's just you're just smashing aliens. But this shit rocks. Because this is the whole episode. Dudes rocking. This shit was amazing. And it made me even more mad at the rest of the show because it never got this good again. I wasted my time watching this fucking show. It was so boring. I do not recommend it. Unfortunately, they are making a second season. I will probably watch it, and I'll probably say it sucks then too. I will say the Pac-Man one was creative. It was interesting because it tried to do something a little different with the source material, because obviously, you know, that was kind of the gimmick, is that like, oh, let's take something like Pac-Man and make it like creepy and freaky. But it had nothing to say. It was style over substance for me. What was the theme of the Pac-Man short? There isn't one. What was it trying to tell you? Nothing. It was literally trying to tell you nothing. It was just trying to show you cool stuff. I don't recommend this show. It was not good. The fucking D&D episode. Oh my god, the D&D episode was so boring. The D&D episode made me like ashamed to like D&D. Score literally a 1. Literally a 1 out of 10. I'm so sorry. But I regretted watching it. I wished I had spent my afternoon doing something else. Now, I will say the Warhammer one, I rank separately. The Warhammer episode is like an 8. I think the Warhammer one was fucking awesome. You guys gotta take your vitamins. You guys gotta eat your broccoli for a second. No superhero bullshit, all right? So this year for Cosmonaut Catch-Up, we are not talking about Oscars. Because I think the Oscar nominations are some of the worst I've ever seen. I think the Oscars are kind of bad this year. And I realized something when I saw the nominees, that I haven't watched the Oscars in a few years now. Mainly because I hate Jimmy Kimmel, and he's been the host for like 2 years in a row. And he's not hosting this year, but that doesn't change the fact that usually there's a movie that I think is very worthy of an Oscar, and it gets snubbed. Like, for instance, Nosferatu, a movie that I'm not really going to discuss in this catch-up because I don't really have a lot of thoughts on Nosferatu. I personally thought it was just kind of okay overall. I think Nosferatu looked great. Performances were mostly amazing. I'm looking at you, kick-ass. Aaron Taylor Johnson dragged that movie down really hard. But Lily Rose Depp is nuts in that movie. But she won't get a nomination because she makes creepy demon face. And the Academy thinks that scary means no good. That's just stupid. I think it's dumb. But this is nominated for Best Picture. And I think it deserves it. Because I'd say this is my second favorite movie of the year. The Substance is my kind of fucking movie. All right? This is my kind of movie. This movie is deliciously disgusting. This movie looks amazing. Look at the fucking color. I think actually every single shot of this movie, I was like, that looks amazing. Or how the fuck did they do that? Look at this. Oh my, look, this is one of my favorites. They have this fucking long ass tunnel to simulate the shower. This movie looks fantastic. In my opinion, probably the best looking movie of the year. I love how wet this movie is also. This is a soggy, slimy movie. This movie makes you feel disgusting watching it, and that's on purpose. It's almost an exploitation movie in a lot of ways. I like how tactile it is. You can feel the sensation that the movie wants you to feel just by looking at it. I cannot put into words how good I felt watching this movie because of how bad the movie makes you feel. Does that make sense? The whole time I'm like, oh, this is gross. I love it. I'm so happy watching this. And the thing is, I like that the movie just doesn't stop. There's a certain point in the movie where you're like, I think it's over. I think we're ending and then we're going to wrap up soon, right? And then it doesn't. This movie grabs you by the throat and it says, I'm not fucking done yet. All right? I'm about to make you pog the fuck out at the screen. It goes full throttle. It fucking just drives straight off of a cliff in the best way possible. It is very on the nose too. It is not hard to know what this movie is about. It is very obvious what the movie's about. But I think that with this I think when you go very obvious and you have no subtext at all, you're like, this movie is about unrealistic beauty standards. This movie is about misogyny. Those are very easy things to talk about in a film. So the movie just fucking, it doesn't care about hiding it. Exactly. It is the most unpretentious way to present this information. This movie is just angry. It is such a pissed off film. You can feel how mad the movie is at the world. And I think that that's amazing. The movie's already so over the top to the point where by the time the movie ends, you really legitimately feel like they could not have gone harder. You will not end this movie being like, oh, I wish they did a little more with it. You will not feel that way. If you feel that way, I don't know what to tell you. What the fuck else could they have done? But yeah, this movie's great. Production design is amazing. The props, the costuming and the makeup effects. I can't even show you some of the stuff in this movie without getting the video. Oh, well, there you go. Right there. I can't show you some of this shit without the video getting taken down. Don't watch this movie with your parents and don't eat while you're watching it. Okay? That's the only thing I can say. Film's amazing. My second favorite movie of the year. Did I talk about Emilia Perez? I haven't seen it, but I did see that one scene of one of the songs where they're like, penis, vagina.
Men to woman, or woman to men.
Man to woman.
From penis to vagina.
And I was like, wow, I am not watching that shit. We still got more broccoli to feed you guys. But right now, Substance gets a 10 out of 10. Easy. Easiest 10 out of 10 of my fucking life. Thought it was awesome. I also didn't watch Anora. I'm sorry, I didn't get to watch Anora yet. I think I would like Anora, but I haven't gotten to watch it yet. Anyway, that's a little bit of broccoli. Let's eat. Let's put some cheese on the broccoli. Let's talk about something you guys would want me to talk about. Let's hit Arcane. So, more hot takes are coming, guys. I watched Arcane season 2. Now, I've been on record saying that I think Arcane season 1 was fantastic. I thought it was great. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was fucking sick. I thought it was basically flawless. Basically. I think Arcane season 2 is unfortunately mid. A lot of people say mid and they mean bad. I don't think it was bad. The good stuff in Arcane season 2 is still very good, but the bad stuff is atrocious. I am shocked at how bad some of the writing is in this show. They simply did not have the time to fix this show with how many episodes were left. Each act feels like a different story, but in a bad way. There are story beats that are completely dropped. The season 1 story is very much it's very tight. It's connected to each other. Like the Piltover and Zahn conflict makes perfect sense from beginning to end. The show opens with police brutality and children being orphaned in the streets. And that shows you that this is what this show is about, right? The show is about these two societies coming into conflict with one another. And season 2 is not about that. Even though it kind of seems like it wants to be about that. It's very strange how the civil unrest plotline just completely gets dropped in season 2. It is very strange that these two societies basically don't talk to each other, like in the last few episodes. Like they're like, hey, can you help us fight these fucking magical aliens? And they're like, okay, cool. Vi's story is very grounded and normal. And then they have the magical wizard time travel parallel dimension story, which is significantly more interesting, but not at all connected to the other stuff that we talked about in season 1. The magical nonsense is very high concept and very awesome. But then you remember that it doesn't connect with the rest of the plot. Why is that? The fact that I don't think Vi League of Legends needed to be in this show when she's the main fucking character of season 1, that's very weird to me. In the last episode, what does Vi do? Tell me one thing that the main character of this show accomplishes in the final episode of the series. There will not be more Vi League of Legends TV content after this. Tell me what she does in this season. Nothing. She doesn't do goddamn shit. She gets her coochie ate. That is all that happens. Her last line, the I'm the dirt under your fingernails, I cannot even get into how that is one of the worst lines she could have said as her final line. How this character is reduced to just being someone's girlfriend at the end of the story. That is so fucking pathetic to me. If she had a boyfriend, I'm sorry, if Caitlyn was a guy and that was her boyfriend and that was the last line, there would be riots in the fucking street. I'm telling you. You're only okay with this character being reduced to someone's love interest because she's a lesbian. This kid, fucking the little blue baby, this character is so bafflingly stupid to me. A character that only exists so they can blow themselves up will never not be funny to me. And then the fact that this character and so many others almost don't even get talked about. I, for a while, thought that the little blue baby was a figment of Jinx's imagination because no other character acknowledges the child's existence other than the werewolf and the mentally ill AD carry. To the point where I thought she was a figment of her imagination. Because after she blows herself up with a laser gun, nobody talks about her. Vi never says, hey Jinx, I haven't seen you in a while. Who the fuck is this kid? They skip, and that's the way the writing of the whole show works. They skip over so many details and they fill it in with music videos. Look, I'm just playing a music video playlist right now. This character is... I cannot fathom how you would write a character this badly. This character had so much to do in season 1. She's not even in League of Legends, by the way. And she has so much to do in season 1. And then she gets a sick-ass fight scene in the middle of this season. And then in the last 3 episodes, she never acknowledges the fact that she's been hanging out with Jinx, that they're kind of this found family. All of this stuff that this whole fight scene sets up is immediately dropped and never talked about again. She has no lines of dialogue in the last few episodes of the show. Because season 1, as far as the writing goes, is amazing. It is almost perfect. And then in this season, I have a problem with almost every single character, except for Echo. Echo's episode is the best episode of the show and one of the best episodes of an animated series I've ever seen in my life. It's so good. But honestly, what does it lead to? All of these plot lines just don't converge. You know, like in the best seasons of shows, like think about Game of Thrones. Your standard season of Game of Thrones will have a bunch of plot lines across this world, right? And they don't seem related at all. But then in the last 2 episodes, they converge and you're like, oh, that's why we saw that. That's why this happened. That's why these characters didn't seem like they were going to matter, but they do matter in the end. And everything flows together. And then it comes back apart so that the next season you can enjoy, the rest of it. Yes, of course, like Better Call Saul or Breaking Bad, like every little thread comes together, weaves together in a satisfying way. And this is the exact opposite. It's the exact opposite way to write a story. Mel Medarda is one of the most useless characters I've ever seen. Her plotline legitimately felt like an excuse to introduce her into League of Legends as a playable character. Her whole first season plotline is revolving around the fact that she's kind of a corrupt politician and she's manipulating Jace. And you know where that leads? It leads to Jace and her not interacting, her getting kidnapped by magical assassins, and becoming a wizard. I don't know what to tell you, man. The show is not well written. You know that meme that people are posting that's like, hey, do we have good writing? And they're like, sorry, no, we only have hype moments and aura. That is the entire show to a T. That is the only way I can describe this season. It's crazy to me that this season has 3 different storylines. In the first few episodes, it's all about trying to catch Jinx, right? We got to catch Jinx. We gotta bring her in. We gotta arrest her because we need to blame somebody for nuking the capital or whatever. She hit him with her ult and we gotta bring her in, right? That's the first few episodes. That's what it's about. But then there's a werewolf. So now, forget Jinx. Jinx doesn't matter anymore. We gotta catch the werewolf. And then the werewolf plot immediately stops. Guys, the werewolf blew up. Now there's wizard robots. This show, I cannot forgive the fall off in quality of this show. I could rant about this show for the rest of the stream, and I would still have things to say. Each of those threads that I mentioned does not neatly weave into one another. And they do not come together in a satisfying way by the end of the show. I would be way less critical if this was not the end of this storyline. It was a major letdown for me. I was very, very let down by this show. This show did feel like, as you guys have been saying, an excuse to include 2 new characters to League of Legends. I still don't think, as much as I've been ranting, I still don't think the show is horrible. It is certainly leagues above something like Secret Level, right? If we're comparing like video game shows to one another. I think that the good things this show does, like the storytelling in relation to the Hex Core, if it wasn't like bogged down by the stuff that sucks, that whole storyline is very well done. I think that the Hex Core storyline was so interesting. But then we have shit like this. This scene right here, this is, if you even stop to think about this scene for 5 minutes, it falls apart completely. We have Vi joining the cops that killed her family without ever mentioning the fact that she may have some moral hangups about this. She brought it up for a second, but then off screen, she's like, all right, I'll join this fucking cop strike force and I will gas my home city with noxious nerve gas with a substance that has been shown in season 1 to be very dangerous to my people. I will willingly gas my hometown and say nothing about it. Caitlyn will become a Hitler-like character for the story, will become a very evil individual. But hey, we got the hype moments and we got aura. And Caitlyn will just be forgiven immediately for the fact that she was a dictator. I'm sorry. I can't excuse it. For me, I personally, I see why a lot of people would give it a higher score. For me personally, I so strongly value characters being written consistently. It was so fun watching this show be talked about on Twitter. You know, Twitter was like so fucking hyped at the very beginning. You could see the fall off. And now when people tweet about this show, they are fucking mean. They are mean about it. I see so many Arcane only fan accounts called like Kiraman Lover with fucking fan edits, but then right below them they'll have this rant, this angry rant about how their favorite character was ruined. I do not think the show was a 9 out of 10. I don't think it was an 8 out of 10. I think it was a very big letdown, personally. I'm not saying it was objectively bad and it was the worst thing I've ever seen. I can see people liking it. But for what I like, I would not say that I enjoyed it, personally. The things I liked were very quickly overshadowed by the things that I had a problem with. I will say one last thing. I do like a lot that this show is okay with killing characters. The fact that most of the characters that you come to love in this series just die, I think that's very brave for a show that's about a video game where I can go turn on League of Legends and play as a character that is canonically dead in the story. You know? I think that it was very cool that at a certain point I'm like, geez, I don't fucking know if this character is going to survive. And this is a character that I play as in League of Legends, you know? I think that was it was a freeing way to write a story. Like, it felt like the writers were not held down by the fact of like, oh, well, you know, this character has to end up okay in the end because, you know, it's like when you watch like a fucking superhero movie. I know Batman's not going to die because he can't. He's not allowed to die for the most part. I actually liked that this show kept me on my toes. Like, oh, this character can't, you know, do this thing because that doesn't make sense for the game. Fuck that. Do whatever you want. Tell an interesting story and don't be held down by the canon that personally I think doesn't matter. Anyway, I ranted about this too long. On a good day, maybe a 6.5. Okay? Maybe a 6.5. Just season 2. Season 1 is still a 9.5 for me. Let's rant a little bit more. I feel like most of this year's Cosmonaut Catch-Up is going to be me ranting. One of the most miserable experiences I've had in a movie theater this year was when I was watching Alien Romulus. Alien Romulus is probably the maddest I've been watching a movie this year in the theater, to the point where I just wanted to leave. It's only infuriating because the first like quarter of this movie is really good. It sets up a lot that I feel like I was really engaged. I was like, okay, I like this backdrop. I like that we're getting a good look at like the civilian corporate side of the Alien universe. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was very engaging, and I was like, okay, I'm excited to see where this goes. And then almost immediately it nosedives into being a fucking member berries shot almost scene for scene bog standard Alien movie where it just wants you to remember the other Alien movies. I don't use member berries as an insult very often, but this was exactly that. It was a nostalgia bait slop fest. And it starts, the fall off happens the second you see them create a CGI monstrosity of a dead actor that was in the other Alien movies. That was where I was like, oh no. You can always tell which character is about to die. The movie does not pull anything interesting or surprising or shocking or stimulating at any point. I wouldn't say like the pacing is bad in the movie. Like it is a well-paced, like a standard. The pacing is standard, I should say. You know, like you can see a clear beginning, middle, end. It all flows together in a normal way. But the problem is that like in the good Alien movies, like Alien and Aliens, there's always like a moment where you think everything's okay and the movie's over. Those movies have like a very cool way of introducing a final battle, right? Where you think that Ripley has defeated the alien. You think that she saved the day. But there's one more thing. There's one secret boss, right? And that is where that's usually the coolest part of the movie. This movie tries to do that. And I will say, the final the final boss in this looks fucking sick. It's not this. It's not this. I think the final boss in this movie, that was where I was like sitting like fucking here. I was like, I had my fucking eyes at the ceiling. I was on my like second fucking bag of Skittles gummies, and I'm like, get me the fuck out of here, man. I want to go home. But then when that fucking freak crawls through the doorway, I was like, hold on a minute. Hold on. I was like, I'm back for a second. But that was it. That was the only time, and that was the last like 10 minutes of the movie. That was the last chance for the movie to get me engaged. So like the very beginning chunk, I was really happy. And the very ending chunk, I was really happy. And then in the middle, I was miserable. That was like an idea where I was like, okay, I can now see why this director wanted to make this movie. You know, I can now see why they had this vision for something, to show us something new. But that middle chunk sucks. And I will say the ending is ruined in a small way. Because like I said, in those other Alien movies, Ripley, she saves the day. She defeats the alien. She's settling down. She's chilling out. She's in her underwear. Her bush is out and she's chilling. And you think the movie's going to end soon. But silly you, audience. She still has one last battle. And it's a surprise. You don't know what more they could do, and then they surprise you. This one is ruined because you know something else is coming. The last monster is teased over and over again leading up to the final battle, right? So you know that something else is gonna happen. There's no like, oh my god, wait, the movie's not over. Holy shit, what the fuck? You don't have that. That doesn't happen. Because you are shown, this character actually has an alien in their belly, so you know that's gonna come out later, right? Like, it doesn't shock you. You're just waiting for the final battle to happen instead of like having it sprung on you. I think it was very disappointing. It is a bog standard Alien movie. If you have seen Alien 1 and 2, you have already seen this movie. If you haven't seen Alien 1 and 2, I could see you quite enjoying this film. I could see you liking this quite a bit. But there are much better Alien movies, and this one is very desperately trying to be one of those. And I didn't like it, except for the very end and the very beginning. Those parts were not lazy to me. But the performances were good. The android guy, his performance is actually amazing. But unfortunately, they made him say a line that Ripley says in the second movie that he would actually never say. He's referencing a line that in the timeline of the movie hasn't happened yet, because this is set before the second Alien movie. But he says the same line Ripley says while she's fucking sleeping in cryo sleep. She hasn't even said that shit yet. Are you like, does everybody in this galaxy just say, "Get away from her, you bitch"? Is that just like a common phrase for the humans of the alien universe? Did they all see that on a TV show once and it's just in their cultural vocabulary? So I would give this probably a 3 or 4. I think about 4. All right. So, we have 2 more things. We haven't talked about Penguin. But I gotta make you guys take your fucking vegetables. I gotta make you eat your broccoli. So we're talking about my favorite movie of the year first. Fuck you. Challengers this is a movie for men. This is a movie for real men. I fucking love this movie. Every single aspect of this movie is expertly crafted. It's a close battle between this and The Substance for me. While The Substance, like, there are 2 levels of what I want in a movie. The Substance is like over the top, bombastic, disgusting, fun. It's a fun movie to watch. And then this one, the framework is more subtle. Think of it like this. This movie could easily be retooled as 2 characters in a sword duel in the desert. And that's the whole film. And in that film, intercut in this sword duel, you are seeing why they don't get along with each other. But instead of a duel to the death is a tennis match. This whole framework of this movie is there's one tennis battle between these 2 guys. And you don't really know them yet, but you know that they have fucking beef with each other. And the film analyzes, it cuts in between this long, drawn out fight. It cuts in why they don't fuck with each other, right? And that framework is beautiful. The structure of this movie is addicting. I love the way this story is laid out, where you gradually learn bits of information about each of these 3 characters that are just twisted individuals, but the fact that they're all perfect for each other. This crazy throuple of dysfunctional people. Zendaya's performance, I have not seen a lot of stuff with Zendaya in it. I didn't watch Euphoria, and I've seen the Spider-Man movies, but that's it. I don't know, what's she on, Wizards of Waverly Place or something? I don't know what she was on when she was a kid. She is amazing in this movie. It's something that I didn't think I could see from her in a convincing way. You know? I would think that Zendaya would be a distracting character for me. I would think that just her being in it would be like, oh well, that's Zendaya. But here, she is the standout character of the film, for me. Shake It Up was Zendaya's first show, so yeah, I was too old for that. When I was saying that The Substance is the best looking movie, I, up until that movie came out, said this was the best looking movie. The things that this film does with the camera are insane. This scene right here oozes style. You want to talk about aura? Somehow this movie has so much aura. Look at this. The camera underneath the glass so you can, oh my God. But going inside the fucking ball, I was just sitting spread out, just letting this movie blast me. How do you do this? And what's crazy is that this movie isn't nominated. The Oscars forgot it existed. Are you kidding me? There's shots in this movie where I'm like, I don't know how he did that. I don't know how the fuck you do that with your camera. I would rather not know. I don't even want to look it up. I'd rather be in the dark. The fucking Academy's like, give it to Emilia Perez. Who cares? Give it to Wicked. Are you kidding me? Look at how this movie looks. And think about how Wicked looks. I can't understand why this movie got nothing. It's my number 1 of the year. I love a movie that takes something that you generally wouldn't give a fuck about. Like, oh, this is a movie about a tennis match. It's a tennis battle. But its framework elevates it beyond that basic premise. It elevates it to a degree that you didn't think you'd give a fuck about. Some of you guys out there who are a little too young might watch The Substance and you'll feel yucky watching it. I get it. You'll feel yucky and you won't like it. I think anybody can watch this film and enjoy it. So easily. If you don't like it, you're weird to me. You're a fucking weirdo. Okay. Couldn't cover everything. I told you I didn't watch as many things this year because I had a lot of stuff going on that I'm not going to get into. Last year, I think I watched too many things and I didn't get to talk about all of them as much as I would have liked to, right? Here, I'm talking about the things that I really had strong opinions on. Like, I didn't watch Agatha all along. I could have rush watched it and thrown it into this video, but I don't wanna. But we got one more thing, and I did rush watch this for this video. I did rush it out. Because if I skipped every fucking comic book thing, you guys would burn me at the stake, all right? I get it. I gotta pay the bills. I made you guys eat your broccoli. I watched Pengy. I watched Penguins of Madagascar. I kind of liked it. Would I say I loved it? No. But I liked it. I thought it was good. I was going to go into this, and I was going to completely remove Batman from my brain. I was going to completely be like, I'm just going to watch this as its own thing, right? I'm going to watch this as its own story. But the movie opens up with the theme song from The Batman. And then I was like, well, I'm thinking about Batman now. I'm thinking I want Batman. I want Batman. I like Batman, right? I think that this show surprised me in a lot of ways that I was very grateful for. There's always that little bug in the back of my brain, that little cape shit bug in the back of my brain that says, God, I want Batman to show up. The main reason I think that I didn't love this show is because, as you guys know, in the past like month or so, they announced that Batman Part 2 got delayed to 2027 or something, you know, basically a million years from now. I had not watched Penguin when that got announced. So when I read that, I was like, I don't care. The Batman came out years ago for me. I'm already past it. Like, I'll wait. I'm fine. I'll wait. But then I watched this and I'm like, fuck, I don't want to wait now. I don't want to wait for Batman. I want Batman. I want Batman. This show made me hungry for more, and that pissed me off. You know? I got bamboozled. But I would say that is because this show is actually good. For me, this show starts off hot. This show starts off really good. And then like around like the middle leading up to like episode 4 and 5, I was kind of like, it's okay. Like it's watchable. It's not bad. But like the story isn't really yanking me in. But then past episode 5 near like the last chunk of the show, I was very engaged again. This show looks great, but it doesn't look as good as the Batman because it can't. You can't have a show that looks as good as the Batman in every episode. That's impossible. That's just not feasible. It's not reasonable to want that. So I'm okay with that. I think that it should not be understated that this looks better than any other fucking comic book show out there right now. This is as good as a superhero show, comic book show could look. When people were saying this is like The Sopranos, no, not at all, actually. Not even a little bit. This is nothing like The Sopranos. And I think that's good. If this show was like The Sopranos, I probably wouldn't like it as much. I like The Sopranos, but I like that The Sopranos is The Sopranos. You know what I mean? I was very happy to see that this is just set the week after the Riddler floods the city. I think that this version of Gotham gets fleshed out so nicely in a way that just makes you hungry to see Batman come out and fucking kill this guy. I can't believe I'm saying this, but by the end of this show, I'm like, Batman, you need to fucking kill this guy. I need you to shoot him in the head with a gun. Forget everything I said, Batman. Zack Snyder, bring Batman out, pull him up by the collar, and give him a gun and make him shoot this motherfucker. I don't mean that. That was a joke. I don't mean that. I don't want to lose my credibility as a Batman enjoyer, okay? But no, I love that this show is about an unrepentantly evil motherfucker. I love that they did not have a moment where they made him honorable, where they made him selfless. He fucks over everybody he knows. The whole character trait that we connect to him for the whole series is that he lies. And that may seem simple. It is disgusting the level at which this character is committed to being a liar. I love that they made him a piece of shit. For like the middle chunk of the show, I was like, I'm kind of like not like very invested in Oz's story, because I feel like it's balancing between him and what's her name, Sophia? Is that the lady's name? The other lady. I think of her as the girl from 30 Rock who says, "I'm a very sexy baby."
I'm a very sexy baby.
I feel like her story was a little unbalanced for me. I still liked her a lot. I think her jump from innocent little precious innocent baby to evil murderous gangster, I feel like that gap in between was a little muddy for me. And yeah, I think her story was a little unsubtle. I agree with that. Like, not bad, but like just a little. I would have liked it to be a little less on the nose. You know, that I've become the thing that I claim to hate. Like, that kind of story has to be done subtly for me, because it's done in every show that's about evil people. It's like, oh no, I've become the thing that I've sworn never to become. That's Sopranos. Yeah, I mean, like, if you want to be really technical about it. But yeah, she is bad as hell, so whatever, who cares? Colin Farrell, that dude looks at the Penguin fat suit like the Green Goblin mask. He claims to hate the makeup in the fat suit, but he transforms when he puts it on. There were like I didn't watch any like the post-episode things until the last episode. So I binge watched this entire show, and I legitimately forgot it was Colin Farrell. And I watch the Batman like every few months, right? But for some reason in this show, he completely transforms. And I think it's just so refreshing that he doesn't become redeemable in any way, shape, or form by the end of the show. Because for a second, they show you that he kind of envisions himself as something bigger and more noble than he is. But he will never become that. And I think that's great. He got his top hat. It's true. I always criticize the Marvel shows for the fact that most of them exist so that by the end of the show, the character gets their cool, iconic costume. And you get this big shot of them dressed up in their costume with their gear. And you're like, oh, it's like in the comic. He looks like he looks in the comic now. Right? And that's every Marvel show. This show kind of does that too, but like in a way where you're like, oh no, he's in his iconic costume. He's a full-on scumbag now. At what cost? You know, I'm actually convincing myself that I liked it a lot more than I thought I did. The fact that this left me hungry for more, I think that's something that I have to give it props for. You know, it turned me into a person who was like, I can wait for the Batman. I don't care. You know, whatever. It turned me into someone who's like, I can't wait for the Batman now. But I love that Batman's not in it too. I have to say, like, as much as I was like, the bug in the back of my brain was like, where the fuck is Batman, dude? Where the fuck is Batman? I want to see Batman. I can't stop thinking about Batman. I'm so glad that they did not rely on that. It shows like a very good level of restraint that a Disney show would never have, that a Marvel show would never do. I'm very happy that this show is fully committed to just fleshing out this character and turning him into the scumbag that you want him to be. I didn't think that this would be a transformative story for this character. You know, I didn't think that I would be, at the end of this show, I would see Penguin differently than I do in the Batman. Because the Penguin at the end of Batman is not the same guy that exists at the end of this show. I think that this was a pretty good show. I liked it. I already said Colin Farrell was crazy. Mr. Krabs is crazy in this show. He does a very good job with what little screen time he gets. But his mom, the lady who plays his mom, she That was one of the best performances I've seen all year. I'm not even gonna lie. She was so good. I think I'm still riding the high of how good like the last few episodes were. I know that if I come back to this, I'll give it an 8. So I'll give it an 8.5. That's all we're talking about right now. Well, that's not all we're talking about now. I do have one more thing. But as for things that have already come out, that is all I have to talk about from the things that I watched over this past year. I will, everything else that you guys are saying, did I watch yada yada? The answer's probably no. I couldn't get to everything. I just didn't have time. But there's one more thing. There's one more little thing. I was gonna do a little bit of things I'm most anticipated for. You know, video games and shows and movies that I'm really looking forward to this year. I started making a little list. I had a few things that I had written down, and it turned out I didn't want to talk about any of them because I only want to talk about Superman. Okay? Where's my fucking Superman trailer? I don't give a fuck about anything that's coming next year. I don't give a shit. I only care about Superman. This trailer legitimately changed my brain chemistry. I woke up, opened my phone, watched the trailer, and I had tears in my eyes. That has never happened for a movie trailer in my life. And it was the second this happens. Right here, got me. It got me. I was like, that is not an accident. Let me just tell you right now, it is not an accident that the first thing we see Superman do, other than lay in the snow with his ass fucking kicked, which is also significant, what's the first fucking thing James Gunn shows us is him saving an innocent person. That is him. That is fully intentional. Everything about this trailer is fucking intentional. Most of this trailer is hope and optimism. It's not even him saying, fuck you, Zack Snyder. It's him saying Superman has been done dirty. No one gives a fuck about Superman. How can I make people love Superman again? Well, the fact that the trailer doesn't even have the title of the movie on it. That is so fucking raw. It just says, July. You'll be there. We know. You know who this is. No title. Fuck you. Even when you see this in the theater, it doesn't have the title. When you watch this in the movie theater, it still doesn't tell you the title. You guys remember what I was telling you about when I was watching Sonic? Those kids, those bad kids, right? You remember that? This trailer comes on right before Sonic, right? And when Superman falls down here, the kids were like, one kid said, I don't give a fuck about Superman. Who gives a fuck about Superman? This fucking 6-year-old kid says this, right? The second the music kicked in, that was the only time these kids shut the fuck up in that whole theater experience. The second the music kicked in, they were gagged. They shut their damn mouths. When the trailer ended, they were like, I want to see that. I want to take me to see that. I want to see that too. Like 1 minute ago, they weren't just fucking talking shit. And that's because James Gunn does not fucking miss. This motherfucker does not miss. He has not made a bad superhero movie. He seems to fully understand what it takes to tell a compelling story about this character. This is the only thing I care about. This is the only thing I'm going to talk about, post about. If this movie sucks, we are becoming a Buffy channel, okay? Just get yourself ready for it. If you don't like when I talk about Buffy, too bad. Go subscribe to somebody else. Because if this movie sucks, I am out. I'm not fucking watching anything else. I'm done with TV shows and movies that come out for the rest of the time. I'm never going to watch a movie again. I'm just going to watch Buffy on repeat. Okay? People have asked about Fantastic Four. I haven't seen anything from Fantastic Four. I have heard things from my contacts, my secret spies on the inside, that have me very interested and excited. But I haven't seen anything from that movie, so I can't care that much. I cared about this because I need it to be good. Personally, I need people to stop saying Superman is boring, Superman sucks, who gives a fuck. I need to stop hearing that from people on the street. or I'm going to go postal. I have been hearing that for my entire life, knowing that these people are fucking full of shit. And I need a good movie to come out so those people don't exist anymore. I need those people to have their brains molded into the correct way of thinking. And that way of thinking is that Superman is the blueprint. You, look at me, you like superheroes. Even if you don't think you do, you do. Superheroes are myth reformed for the modern day. It's David and Goliath. It is fucking Odysseus. It's Hercules. It's stories we've been telling each other since we could tell stories. And we just changed them a little bit so that they're more palatable for us. But we have been doing this for all of human history. So yes, you like superheroes, even if you don't think you do. And he's the blueprint. He's the fucking blueprint for superheroes. You like Superman, you just don't think you do. When I saw people on Twitter being like, wow, that was kind of cool. I didn't think I'd care about this. Why am I so excited for Superman all of a sudden? Wait, you're so close. You're so close. You're this close. You already did. You just haven't been shown this yet. You haven't been shown Superman in a good context. Sorry. I have strong opinions on this. You know, I always say that the most shocking thing to me about superhero movies being popular is that my mom knows who Thanos is. I remember I went out to eat with family friends one time, and my friend's uncle, this like older dude, Gen Xer, he's like, oh, I love Thor. I think Thor's such a cool character. I love those movies with him and Loki. I love those. And Hulk is so cool. This guy has never read a comic book. And he says he loves Loki and Thor. Everybody knows who Thanos the Mad Titan is. Everybody knows what an Infinity Gem is. They never read a comic book before. They don't give a fuck about comic books. But they know these things. They are in their public consciousness. They think Thanos is cool because they had a movie show them a cool version of this character, right? I remember when Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 came out. Rocket Raccoon was in the game. Guardians of the Galaxy had not come out yet. And everybody said, who the fuck is this stupid character? But fucking 2 years later, Rocket Raccoon is everybody's favorite little goblin. Those same people for years have been saying, I don't give a fuck about Superman. I don't care about Superman. Yeah, that's right. You probably don't. It's not your fault. You've never given a reason to care. Because only people watch movies. That's the only way people digest these characters is with movies and shows. So I need this movie to be good. I need it, or I will lose my mind. From now until July 11th, we are on Superman Hopium Hypetrain. All right? Mount up for Superman. And let me just say, people have been saying if the movie comes out, I'm gonna be fully huffing the copium, and I'm gonna say it's good even if it's not. That's not true. I've never done that. You guys know I am a contrarian. Hell, if this movie's awesome and I don't like it, I'll still say I don't like it. Okay? I stand by my principles. And it is rare to see me hype for this hype for a movie. I don't get excited for movies because I always know I can be disappointed. I'm not even excited for the third Spider-Verse movie because I don't even think it's coming out. You know what I mean? I expect to be disappointed. But for this one time, for this one instance, I'm looking at all the factors. I'm looking at the fact that this movie, regardless of if it's good or not, will make a lot of money. Some things will just make money, okay? And Superman is this thing. It will make money. But also the fact that James Gunn hasn't missed. This trailer is amazing. It shows me everything. I want to see every scene that is in this trailer. I have no questions about it. I am accepting in my brain that I will, for this one time, be excited and hotly anticipate a movie. Just once. And if it lets me down, again, we're done with movies. We're doing Buffy forever. Buffy channel until I die. I'm going to be analyzing the fucking costuming on Buffy. That's going to be the videos you guys get, okay? I'm not even saying I expect this movie to be perfect. I'm expecting to have problems with it. I'm expecting to have criticisms, whatever. But it has to at least be good. It needs to do for Superman what the Guardians of the Galaxy movie did for those fucking characters. Okay? Which is something crazy that I should not even have to say. Because people know who Superman is. They didn't know who fucking Star-Lord was. But Superman needs good PR. He needs it. And yes, if Fantastic Four sucks, we're going to be a Bluey channel. We're going to be analyzing the story, the plot development of Bluey and the character arcs. That's all I got to say about that. July 11th. Superman Hypetrain.